everyone, my name is Evie Pine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be talking about scene ideas for Valentine's Day. Now, first of all, I am wearing an I Love Halloween t-shirt for Valentine's Day because I have loyalty to only one holiday. But in all seriousness, I do really love the spirit of Valentine's Day. The idea of like showing affection to the people you care about and demonstrating your love to them and your commitment and devotion. Like, I think it's a really beautiful holiday, or at least it can be if you take away all of the commercialism, and I think it's a great time to have a really connective bonding experience with your BDSM activities. Now, in previous years on my channel, I have talked a lot about like love and BDSM and how those things interact on Valentine's Day. So if you're wondering, can you love your dom? Are all BDSM relationships based in romantic attraction? Like things like that. I have covered those in previous videos, which I will go ahead and leave down in the description box below if you want to see these. But today we are just talking about fun scene ideas that you can do if you want to do something special to celebrate this holiday with your kink partner. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list of ideas. Now, number one is kind of a play on the idea that, Valentine's Day is a day to show your partner how much you care. But what about instead of showing them, you tell them? And depending on your individual dynamic, there's a lot of different ways to take this particular scene. If you are a submissive and your partner is, say, a goddess, a master, somebody in like a higher level of power exchange, this can be a really great time to show your devotion to them. Maybe write them a poem describing how wonderful they are, or a short story, or write them a handwritten card in calligraphy that shows how much you love them and how much you love being able to serve them, whatever would reinforce your dynamic. Now, if you are a humiliation bottom, a completely different way to take this is to have an embarrassment-focused scene where you have to read a list of all the reasons why you are wonderful. Now, some people do really like praise, but for a lot of humiliation bottoms, things like having to say nice things about themselves are like one of the most intense experiences that you can go through. However, if you don't want it to be humiliating, if you don't want it in that direction, you can also have it be where your partner is reading the nice things to you and reminding you of why you were such a lovely pet or a wonderful little boy, etc., depending on what it is that you do with each other. That can also be humiliating and kind of embarrassing in its own way if you're really bad at like receiving compliments, but it can also be a really lovely way of doing something with praise. If you remember the video I did talking about praise kink, this definitely goes in that particular direction. And if you want to make it even more intense, you can add in rules like you're not allowed to break eye contact during the experience, and if you do, then another nice thing gets added to the list if you just want to even up the stakes a little bit higher. My second suggestion is to make kinky Valentine's Day cards. This is one of my favorite suggestions because it is just so cute and so wholesome and fun and easy to do. And my idea for this is you set up like a little craft area and you make like old school Valentine's Day cards, right? You get like magazines and colored paper and colored pencils and stickers and glitter. If you really want to get out there and trust your little with glitter, you can do that if you want to make some really fancy Valentine's Day cards. And it can be a really great opportunity for your little to have some time in little space doing a really fun focused craft project and show their creativity while also having a little bit of a DS element to it if the idea is they are giving a card to you. If you want to do this with pets as well, you can absolutely do this. You would just have the craft area on the floor, and basically what you would do instead is, if you guys have seen like any of those like videos or photos where like people make cards with their pet's paws, like it's the same idea, right? You get some body safe paint and you dip the paws in paint or whatever else, hooves, etc. You dip that in the paint and you allow them to put their paws, hooves, etc. on the paper and create a custom card, a custom piece of artwork using their little hooves or paws or etc., which I think is just really, really fun and sweet and could be a really nice opportunity to embrace your pet play side while also doing something focused on a Valentine's Day. And you can also have it be where it's not just a card, you could have it even be like a whole canvas maybe, and you're actually making somebody a gift to have for Valentine's Day as part of that whole scene process that they can keep with them going forward for the rest of the relationship, which I think is a really wonderful 2-for-1 deal, if you will. Now, number 3 is for all of the service submissives out there, because again, Valentine's Day is a way to show your partner how you feel about them. And this is a wonderful opportunity for service, especially with something you don't always get to do in your everyday dynamic. It could be preparing them a wonderful, like, 4-course meal. It could be getting them a bottle of champagne while you run the bath for them with rose petals. It could be giving them a really luxurious massage or foot rub. It could be hand feeding them chocolate while they watch reruns of The Bachelor. It could be as fancy or low protocol as you want it to be, but the point is to make that time for service, because I know so many of us that are in service dynamics, or it's part of our BDSM but not a main focus, it can be really easy to kind of lose sight of that. I think Valentine's Day is a really, really easy, fun, rewarding way to have that concentrated time for service in your BDSM dynamic, or even give it a try for the first time and see how you like it. Number 4 is what I like to call making something from Cosmopolitan magazine actually kinky. I don't really know what's going on at Cosmo, but for some reason, they always have articles that make it sound like putting an ice cube on somebody's belly button is sexy, or like how to turn saran wrap into a flogger, which is like, nobody really does this, Cosmo, but occasionally there are things in there which I think can legitimately be turned into real, proper, like BDSM scenes, for example. I think Valentine's Day is a really great opportunity to kind of go back to those like simpler forms of BDSM, you know, sensation play, for example. Really great opportunity to use some low temperature wax play candles or even massage oil candles. This is a great opportunity to use, say, a light feather tickler or chocolate body paint. You know, I think sometimes we get this stigma that like light BDSM is like somehow bad or like lesser than other types of BDSM. Like, it's really not a competition. It's about finding what works for you and finding the energy that you want to have in your scenes. And sometimes if you're used to like a really like high protocol BDSM experience that's like really intense all the time, sometimes it can actually be really rewarding to have a break from that, kind of break the monotony and actually have a quote unquote lighter, simpler BDSM scene that's really focusing on sensations, exploring your partner's body, you know, having something that focuses, I think, more on the basics of a BDSM experience and really, really going into the connection aspect of having a scene as opposed to like having the most expensive bondage equipment possible, right? Number 5 is for all of the impact play bottoms out there, because so far I have somehow really avoided talking about pain, and this one can be a little bit intense, but there's a couple of ways to approach it. But you know, one of the main symbols that we associate with Valentine's Day would be roses, and of course the dozen of roses that are oh so expensive that you might get on this particular holiday can also be something that you use as part of a BDSM scene. Now, if you're really hardcore and you like the pain and it's part of your risk profile, I do know people that have just straight up used roses with thorns as part of an impact play scene. Obviously, they can puncture, they can break off in the skin, they can draw blood. Not necessarily for everybody, but if you like a good mindfuck, a great way to do this is to, you know, go to your partner's house, give them a wonderful vase of roses, blindfold them, run a rose under their nose and say, this is going to be on your ass next, or like, I don't know. I'm really bad at flirting and I'm not a dom, so I don't know what they would say, but something like that would sound more serious, like something like that. Dear God, do not say what I just said. I'm going to leave this in the video, by the way, just so everybody knows how truly embarrassing of a human I am, but something like that sounds less asexual than what I just did. along those lines, make them think that the thorny roses are going to be the next thing that happens to them as part of the experience. But what you do is you go ahead and you get your second set of roses, or maybe the exterior of the roses in the bunch are all thorned, but the interior roses that are hidden are dethorned. So you can actually use the roses on your partner, but they don't actually end up getting any thorns on them. Or you could actually kind of trick them out and think that they're going to have an impact play scene, but then you're just like lightly brushing the petals across their skin and under their nose, right? Like it's just a very silly little light sensation play scene. Oh, you have a brat, teasing them with that? So perfect, so wonderful. Highly suggest it. Now, you can also do other things, like you can get a flogger. For example, I think Details Toys makes them. They have a flogger that is made to look like roses. They can be made with thorns or without thorns. This can be a really great gift as well for Valentine's Day if you want to give your partner a gift and then have that gift be used as part of a scene. Really great way to do that if you don't want to spend the money on roses, although I think probably the price for a dozen roses is still less than like a custom rose flogger, but it's at least equivalent, I believe. Number 6 is another sort of hardcore suggestion for the hardcore players. Now, the saying usually goes that blood is thicker than water, right? And I think there's a way that you can really demonstrate your loyalty and your devotion to a partner through blood, because it can be really intense, right? I know a lot of people that do things, for example, where they have DS scenes where they drink a partner's blood, or they have a partner draw blood for them, and they make sort of like promises and seals with blood, maybe especially if you go more towards like a spiritual sort of aspect of BDSM in your relationship. But you can also do things like, for example, draw Valentine's inspired designs into your partner's skin with, say, a scalpel or a design with needles. Obviously, again, higher level play requires a little bit more training and experience than a lot of the other suggestions in this video, but I think it can be a good way of having an intense scene using a skill set that maybe you already happen to possess, but maybe don't get a lot of excuses to use. If you don't really want to draw blood, if it's not really part of your experience, you can do things like a butter knife or a blunt knife and dip that in cold water to produce a similar sensation, or just use a blunt knife and have that just be what it is. It's totally fine. There's definitely different ways to calibrate this experience. All right, we are on to the last suggestion on this list, which is number 7. And depending on how you take this, this could either be one of the cutest ideas on this list, or it could be one of the most maniacal. Overall, the idea is to use Valentine's Day media. That could be movies, episodes of TV shows, books, whatever you want it to be. If you are going in the sweeter direction, right, this could be something where it's part of aftercare after another scene. Maybe you do something really intense and then you cuddle up on the couch and you have some ice cream together and you watch a cheesy Valentine's Day romantic comedy. And maybe if you have a little, you read them a story at bedtime that has a Valentine's Day theme to it. One of my favorites is the Clifford the Big Red Dog Valentine's Day adventure. I don't remember which story that is. I'll put a picture of it on screen. Also, because it's a book about dogs, I would argue that pet players can also enjoy this book, so they are definitely not being left out of this experience either. Now, if you want to take this in a more maniacal direction, Hallmark movies. That's really all I have to say. Hallmark movies. Some people love The Bachelor. They love romantic comedies. They love all that stuff. But if your partner is one of those people that absolutely just thinks they're trash and they hate them and they never want to see them, right? Just imagine putting them in like some really like high quality noise canceling headphones and then putting them in a dark room and putting them in some bondage and then forcing them to watch a movie marathon of nothing but cheesy Hallmark Valentine's Day movies. It's so simple. It's so simple to torture people this way. And if you've got a brat and they've been acting out and they don't like stuff like this, they are going to think twice about breaking the rules again after going through an experience like that. Like, it's not as intense as my Teletubbies version of this suggestion, but it can still be painful in its own way. And if you really, really want to up the ante, I would also recommend you have a pop quiz prepared for them about the movies once they are done watching them to make sure they don't fall asleep and actually keep paying attention to the movies. And I know I'm gonna get a ton of shit in the comment section about this, going like, why, Evie, did you give my dom this idea? This is awful, this is horrible, this is the worst thing I've ever done. To which I would say, I'm sorry, but like, I'm also not sorry, because these are the ideas that I have, and this is the content that I make, and you guys should have been aware that this is where this train was ultimately going to end up at the station, you know? But these are all the ideas that I have for Valentine's Day related scenes. If you guys have your own scenes planned, if you guys have done scenes in the past for Valentine's Day that you have really, really enjoyed, I would love to hear your stories and suggestions down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I make videos twice a week about all sorts of kink and BDSM related topics. And finally, if you really enjoy my channel, if you want to support what I do, the best way you can do that is through Patreon. A link to that will be down in the description box below. It is what makes these videos possible, and it also allows me to offer you guys a bunch of exclusive perks and rewards, things like a monthly photo shoot, a Discord chat, bonus videos, things that I can't necessarily share or talk about here on YouTube. And actually, we are preparing for a 1,000 patron extravaganza. I am currently working my way up to 1,000 patrons, and when we reach that goal, there will be a bunch of additional new content that I can make because of that. So if you want to be part of that, go ahead and check it out. If you already support me over there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you guys next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.